Hello everyone. So today I'm going to explain you on the importance of pentose phosphate pathway. So I'll be highlighting only on the high yield stuff here. So the things that are asked in the exam, especially USMLE Step 1 exam. So let me explain that part and then we will move on with that. So the pentose phosphate pathway. So I'll just write it as PPP here, pentose phosphate pathway, which is also called as hexose monophosphate shunt, that is HMP shunt. Why this is called as HMP shunt? It is because the molecule glucose 6-phosphate, glucose 6-phosphate. This glucose 6-phosphate is a hexose. It has got 6 carbon and it has got one phosphate at the 6th carbon. That's why it is called as hexose monophosphate and shunt. Shunt means glucose 6-phosphate is a glycolytic intermediate, and this glycolytic intermediate, it is now shunted into some other pathway. That is why this is called as hexose monophosphate shunt. Now let's see what happens in hexose monophosphate shunt or pentose phosphate pathway. Glucose 6-phosphate is converted. Actually, there are two reactions here. So initially glucose 6-phosphate is converted to 6-phosphogluconolactone, and then it is converted to 6-phosphogluconate, and that 6-phosphogluconate will be converted to ribulose 5-phosphate. So I'll just write ribulose 5-phosphate here, ribulose 5-phosphate. So these two reactions here, that is conversion of glucose 6-phosphate into ribulose 5-phosphate, it will be done by two enzymes. One is, the very first enzyme is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. I will just write it as G6PD, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, and the other enzyme is 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. So there are two enzymes in the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate into ribulose 5-phosphate. First enzyme is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. Second enzyme is 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. So what happens in these reactions is, so the glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconate, there will be release of NADPH, NADPH plus H plus, one molecule of NADPH plus H plus. In the second reaction, there will be another molecule of NADPH plus H plus released. Another molecule of NADPH plus H plus there will be release of carbon dioxide. It means glucose 6-phosphate is a 6-carbon compound. Now you are getting ribulose 5-phosphate, which is a 5-carbon compound. It means one of the carbon is now released as carbon dioxide. So during this process, when 6 carbon is converted to 5 carbon, there will be release of 2 molecules of NADPH plus H plus. And this entire thing, we call this as oxidative phase. Oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway. Because in oxidative phase, the reactions are irreversible. And you are going to get NADPH plus H plus. 6 carbon is converted to 5 carbon. Now let's see what happens to the ribulose 5-phosphate. Now the ribulose 5-phosphate, by isomerase enzyme, it will be converted to ribose 5-phosphate. Now, and this is a reversible reaction. Ribulose 5-phosphate is converted to ribose 5-phosphate by isomerase enzyme. Enzyme name is not really important here. What is important that you need to know is ribulose 5-phosphate, which is a keto sugar, converted to ribose 5-phosphate, which is an aldose sugar. And the fate of this ribose 5-phosphate is, if the cell is proliferating and if it wants to synthesize nucleic acids, so ribose 5-phosphate will be going into nucleotide biosynthesis. Nucleotide biosynthesis. That is the use of ribose 5-phosphate. How it gets into nucleotide biosynthesis, if you want to know little more details on that, ribose 5-phosphate will be converted to what is called as PRPP. This PRPP is phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate. I'll repeat again. PRPP is phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, and this phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, it will act as a positive modulator on two enzymes, that is purine synthesis enzymes. Purines will get into purine synthesis, and also it will get into pyrimidine synthesis, because both the enzymes, both the rate limiting enzymes of purines and pyrimidine biosynthesis pathway, they are stimulated positively by PRPP. So it means ribose 5-phosphate by forming PRPP and getting into purine and pyrimidine nucleotides, and they will get into DNA and RNA synthesis. That's the importance of pentose phosphate pathway by making ribose 5-phosphate. Now, if the cell doesn't want nucleotide biosynthesis, what if cell doesn't want nucleotide biosynthesis but it just wants NADPH plus H plus? At that time, ribose 5-phosphate that is present here, so it will be converted to fructose 6-phosphate. Fructose 6-phosphate, or it will be converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Either of these two molecules, it will be converted. Ribose 5-phosphate is a 5-carbon compound. Fructose 6-phosphate is a 6-carbon compound. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is a 3-carbon compound. Then you can ask me, how come 5-carbon compound is converted to 6-carbon molecule? So for that, we need to consider more than one ribose 5-phosphates, because they will interact with one another. So in order to explain that concept, what I will do is, I'll take 3 molecules as an example. So I'll take 3 glucose 6-phosphate. It means you get 3 ribulose 5-phosphate. Accordingly, you're going to get here, so 6 NADPH plus H plus. So 3 NADPH plus 3H plus here, another 3 NADH plus 3H plus. So 6 NADPH plus H plus and 3 carbon dioxide. So this is what you are going to see here. So it means 3 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate. In that, one of the ribulose 5-phosphate is converted to ribose 5-phosphate, and then another ribulose 5-phosphate by epimerase enzyme, it is converted to xylulose 5-phosphate, and then another ribulose 5-phosphate will be converted to one more molecule of xylulose 5-phosphate. Okay. Now all these molecules, they can interact with one another to ultimately to make fructose 6-phosphate. There are intermediates there, so let's not write those intermediates. There are pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate, erythrose 4-phosphate, all that. Those things are not generally asked. Okay. At the end, what you really need to remember is ribose 5-phosphate, xylulose 5-phosphate. These molecules, they will interact with one another, and ultimately they will be converted to fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. But what you need to remember here is there are 2 enzymes which are participating in these reactions, in these reversible reactions, and the name of those enzymes are transketolase and transaldolase. Transketolase and transaldolase, these are the 2 enzymes which will participate in this reversible reactions. All the reactions that you are going to see in the conversion of ribulose 5-phosphate or ribose 5-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate into fructose 6-phosphate or glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, there are only 2 enzymes are needed for this, for all these reversible reaction, and they are transketolase and transaldolase. So at the end you get these molecules, and as you all know, fructose 6-phosphate is a glycolytic intermediate. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is a glycolytic intermediate. So both of these molecules, they will get into glycolysis. And you know the fate of glycolysis. It can get into pyruvate formation or acetyl-CoA formation. That's the fate of your ribose 5-phosphate here, if the cell wants only NADPH but doesn't want nucleotide biosynthesis. Okay. Now, after knowing all this, you need to know a little bit about transketolase function here. So the transketolase, one of the coenzyme for transketolase is TPP, thiamine pyrophosphate. active form of thymine is thymine pyrophosphate. Sufficient availability of TPP is important here for non-oxo, and also I forgot to say that all these reversible reactions, conversion of ribulose 5-phosphate ultimately into fructose 6-phosphate and glycerol 3-phosphate, they are referred as non-oxidative phase. Non-oxidative phase. So oxidative phase reactions are all irreversible. Non-oxidative phase reactions are reversible. This is the first point that you need to remember. Now in the non-oxidative phase, since all of them are reversible, so molecules can run from ribulose 5-phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate. Or if the cell wants to synthesize ribose 5-phosphate, but it has got sufficient NADPH plus H plus. Let's take that scenario. Consider that your cells, they need ribose 5-phosphate, but they have got plenty of NADPH plus H plus. During that time, what happens? Whenever your cell has got plenty of NADPH plus H plus, this NADPH plus H plus will have a negative effect on rate limiting enzyme of oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway, and that is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. This enzyme will be negatively modulated by high levels of NADPH plus H plus, and also it is induced by insulin whenever person is in well-fed condition. Okay, so now what we are considering is cell is having plenty of NADPH, but it wants ribose 5-phosphate. In that time, it cannot convert glucose 6-phosphate into ribulose 5-phosphate and make ribose 5-phosphate because this enzyme is down, because you have plenty of NADPH. That's the one we have considered. That cell has plenty of NADPH, but it wants ribose 5-phosphate. At that time, what cell will do? Cell will take glycolytic intermediates, that is fructose 6-phosphate and glycerol 3-phosphate, do all these reverse reactions using transketolase and transaldolase, and thereby make ribose 5-phosphate. This is what you need to remember. Whenever the cell has got plenty of NADPH, which is negatively modulating oxidative phase via glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, but cell wants ribose 5-phosphate, so it is going to do the reversal of glycolytic intermediates back into ribose 5-phosphate, that goes into nucleotide biosynthesis. Okay, now consider cell wants both NADPH and ribose 5-phosphate. Some of the cells, they want both. At that time, what they do? They conduct oxidative phase, take glucose 6-phosphate, make ribulose 5-phosphate. They get NADPH plus H plus, and of course they want ribose 5-phosphate. So what they do? They convert ribulose 5-phosphate into ribose 5-phosphate, and that gets into nucleotide biosynthesis. So if cell wants both of these molecules, NADPH and ribose 5-phosphate, both oxidative and non-oxidative phase will run. If the cell wants only ribose 5-phosphate, then only non-oxidative phase is going on. Oxidative phase is inhibited because it has plenty of NADPH. Okay, so depending on the scenarios like that. And also another thing, if the cell doesn't want ribose 5-phosphate, but it wants pyruvate, it wants NADPH and it wants pyruvate. During that time, what happens? Oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway goes, then the ribulose 5-phosphate form ribose 5-phosphate, then non-oxidative phase brings that into fructose 6-phosphate, glycerol 3-phosphate, glycolysis, you get pyruvate, and pyruvate is converted to acetyl-CoA. Okay, so depending on the cell needs, oxidative phase or non-oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway will provide whatever the molecule that it needs, whether it is NADPH is needed or ribose 5-phosphate is needed. And also you need to know the uses of NADPH plus H plus. Just to give you in brief, just to say all the uses here. So NADPH plus H plus is used in reductive biosynthesis like fatty acid synthesis, triglyceride synthesis, cholesterol biosynthesis, bile acid synthesis, all these processes, and also deoxyribonucleic acid synthesis needs NADPH, and it is needed for oxygen independent killing of bacteria, phagocytosis process. NADPH plus H plus is needed for detoxification process of medications, chemicals, food additives, all these things. It is needed for nitric oxide synthesis. NADPH H plus is needed, and also it is needed to maintain glutathione in reduced state. Reduced glutathione is GSH, that is GSH. The GSH is a reduced glutathione, and in order to maintain this in reduced form, you need NADPH plus H plus. So these are some of the uses of NADPH plus H plus for us. That's all about in brief on pentose phosphate pathway, both oxidative phase and non-oxidative phase, and the reactions there. Thanks for watching.